Welcome to the Gator Dynasty podcast. As you'll see, I'm taking care of your welcome today. It is with a heavy heart that Eric joins us today. Just could not, it couldn't, I had to start the tone, set the tone, help him walk into things. Real tough loss. Loss of the crown by 0.2 points for the highest points for. How you doing, Eric?
7.5 points. That's all I needed. 7.5 points. And I had Calvin Ridley and literally anyone I wanted to put in the game. I was at one point going to have Calvin Ridley and Devontae Adams, but no, Devontae Adams got sat out again. And then Calvin Ridley might as well have sat out because then I could have actually won the game because here's the stats. You ready?
I'm ready.
I could have left Calvin Ridley in there. I could have won the game with let's run through the list here. Devin Singletary. That would have been a fine pick for the flex this week. Antonio Gibson. Also a good pick for the flex. Dontrell Inman. He would have won me the game. Robert Tonyan. Okay, obviously, I could have sat like half my team and won the game. Here's the worst one though. Actually, I got two more for you. Harrison Bryant. Who is he, do you ask? He's a rookie. I think he's on the Browns, and he scored a touchdown. Good for him, bud. Gabriel Davis on the Buffalo Bills scored 10.1 points. Also would have won the game. Like, what am I supposed to do, Mark? My bench scored more points than some people's rosters this week. And by that, I'm not pointing a finger at Pinor. That's not what I'm doing.
Good. I'm glad you didn't single him out or anything like that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Ben Chapman, you won this week, but there's been weeks where I would have scored more points on my bench than you as well.
I think the hardest one has to be Rex Burkhead, because I remember you debating between Russell Gage and Rex Burkhead. And his was a nice little tease of like decimal points enough to win.
Actually, I did the math. I would have lost by 0.07 if I had put Rex Burkhead in. And that would have been even more painful. You're right. But if he had gone in place of Calvin Ridley and then put Russell Gage in that spot, I would have won. But all this to say, good game, Albert. I'm proud of you. I don't know what you gave Calvin Ridley or Matt Ryan for that matter. Like, Matt Ryan threw the ball to literally everyone but Calvin Ridley. I mean, he had 5 chances. He could have caught just 2 of them, and we would have been fine. But he didn't catch any of them. And, anyway, we can move on.
Well,
it's Tuesday, so that means it's a fresh start. I get to look at my next opponent. I'll be okay. Don't worry about me.
Well, do you think are you good for a little? Well, this is a little bit of surprise. I don't know if you're in or not, but a little 60-second salesman will pick me up.
Sure, I'll do it. What's the topic? Is it gameplay decision making?
Yeah, it's actually on the topic of the worst manager of the week.
Yeah, that would be me. I can go on that for another 60 seconds about that.
You already done that. So I've got my 60 seconds up. So now the topic is why we chose to add first downs in for our league. The reward for that and kind of thinking about that. So 60 seconds on the clock. Go.
All right, so in our league, we have first downs. If you receive or run for a first down, you get half a point. The idea there is you get more points for plays that matter, that are meaningful. I'm thinking of someone like this week. George Kittle got 10 first downs on 15 receptions. That's a pretty good percentage. So that gave him just 5 points for that. As opposed to Jamison Crowder in week 1, I think he had 7 catches. And he got only 3 first downs. So still good, still gets his 1.5, but you're going to reward the player that's moving the ball down the field, moving those chains, helping his team out. Also, little spoiler alert, if you score a touchdown, that also counts as a first down. for some reason. All that to say, if you don't have this element in your league, you're going to reward people who just catch the ball behind the line of scrimmage for no reason. This is just another continuation of tier-based.
That's it. I like to think of Jerome Bettis if he was playing and his 3 carries for 3 yards. Like, he's done more than
and 2 touchdowns.
0.3. Yeah, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And so, like, just kind of giving a little bone to the value they're having.
Yeah, to the people that are actually getting, Peyton Barber gets his 2 points a week for his 2 first down carries. It's just a continuation of what we do with the tiered-based PPR. We're trying to reward the big play. We're trying to reward the plays that matter more than just a little bit of fluff, catch a bunch of passes, but get absolutely 0 yardage and still not move the chains. That did help. Thank you, Mark. I feel better.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, I'll give you a moment to kind of bask in that. I'll go into headlines and hearsay.
All right, let's do it.
So, Chubb, sprained MCL, sorry to see more. I expect to be around like 6 weeks or so when I saw. Definitely hitting the IR. Eckler for Andy Gordon's team. Serious hamstring injury is the last thing I saw. Ended the IR most likely, which means 3 weeks minimum. I think I actually saw 4 to 6.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this is going to be a longer one as well.
Bill O'Brien out.
The broken heart, I think is what it was.
For Bill O'Brien?
Yeah. Or a failed lobotomy. Was that the other option?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Winners and losers. I feel like I like when people do this. So winners, Texans organization.
Absolutely. Texans fan base.
Yeah, it's hard that you don't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore because of him, but I guess
or
we'll
a first round pick or a second round pick next year either. So good luck to the next GM who starts off with that team in the 3rd round.
It's wild. No way the Dolphins anticipate getting a lottery pick out of that trade.
Yeah, no. I don't think so.
So we got Romeo Crennel stepping in. Losers, Jared, because now the Titans may actually have competition in the AFC South.
He also, half of his team is on the Texans. So depending on if they just totally tank at this point, or I mean, I think they're going to get a couple like pick-me-up wins, just like stick it to Bill O'Brien. But yeah, I don't think this is good long term for them this season. That's for sure.
They've got the talent. I mean, they've got so much talent on them. Like I think of like the Cowboys, who just like it's fun to watch them lose. The Texans is like, what's going on over there? Like I don't.
Well, have you looked at their competition? I mean, obviously the Vikings. This is the first game where it's like, are you serious? Like, how did you not win? But they started out. They played the Chiefs. Then they played the Steelers. Then they played.
I was looking because I wasn't going to help you much of those 4. Is it the Bears?
Yeah, the Bears. I think I'm getting them out of order. But anyway, those are the 3, yep. Which are all solid teams this year.
Yeah.
And then you played the Vikings too. Yeah. Yeah, that'll get you fired.
So that was all I had for headlines and hearsay. If you want to go into heavy hitters this week.
Sure. So starting with our heavy hitters, our QBs, Dak Prescott, who has now thrown for 1,690 yards in the first 4 games. This is a record. And do you want to know what the 16-game pace is for that, Mark?
I would love to.
I think it's like 6,700 yards. No one has ever thrown over 5,500 yards in a season. And he's just going to be like, I got this. Now, obviously, I don't think he's going to get to 6,700 yards. But the way their defense is playing, he might make 10,000. Who knows?
Every game is going to have to be a shootout because the other team's scoring right away. You know that.
Well, and he has so much firepower. He can throw it. Anyway, I mean, Dalton Schultz, we'll talk about him later, is looking like a rock star. And I'm sorry, I'm still sticking with my he's a dope approach.
Dalton.
Yeah, Dalton. And he's going to trip over his own last name. But anyway. Mixon finally came to form. People are happy about that. Was it 3 touchdowns this week? Is that what he got?
Yeah, making up for the first 3 weeks combined.
Yeah. Well, that was good to see him back on track. Dalvin Cook had another big game, but I guess his development was he got to play the Texans. Odell Beckham Jr. looking like he still plays for the Giants like 4 years ago. Did you see that game at all?
Dude, I think about he catches the pass from Landry, but then the reverse was absurd.
Yeah, it was a 73-yard. Oh, it was beautiful. I loved it.
He ran from sideline to sideline plus 15 yards back in the backfield.
Yeah, no, it's completely nuts. And then Amari Cooper. Obviously, that pretty much, if you played in the Dallas Cowboys Cleveland Browns game, you were a heavy hitter, it seems like. Tight ends. Another week of the tight end, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, Schultz, and Robert Tonyan was another one. He had a huge game. So head scratchers / Eric's bench performances. So that would highlight Antonio Gibson was on my bench. Robert Tonyan was on my bench. Okay, so that's it. It just felt like it was all of them. But Sam Darnold, what is your thoughts on this one, Mark?
So Sam Darnold, so that's for Seymour. Again, not really he hasn't really been doing much. Wasn't really the play you should be making, but just kind of the big bench performance from him.
Okay. Did he bench Kareem Hunt again?
He did.
Oh my God.
RB10.
Dude, are you even listening to the podcast?
I don't get it.
We told you this last week. Don't be an idiot. And just to let you know, so for next week, if you don't start Kareem Hunt, we're going to find a new team to replace you. Okay?
Especially with Chubb out.
Chubb's not even in there. Okay? Like this is the running back you should go with. Just going to put that out there. All right. And then Jamison Crowder had another big week. Good for him, but on somebody's bench. And who has Austin Hooper, Mark?
Austin Hooper. Is this? Let me look. I think this is Chapman.
Okay. Well, he lucked out then. He still won.
Let me see. Hooper, yes, he's on Chapman's team.
Okay. So it didn't hurt him this week, but still a bonehead move. And then the downright horrible. Jared Goff, 12 points versus the Giants.
The Giants.
Yeah. Phillip Rivers, 11.5 points. That's actually pretty good for Rivers. And then Matt Ryan. I luckily did not start him this week. Started Fitzy instead, Fitzmagic, the other Ryan. But he got 13.1 points.
He did make one good call there. So.
Yeah. Yep. Way to go, me. Running back, Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb. This is more to do with, they got no points, but this has more to do with them getting injured, which is also horrible news. Marvin Jones. That hot take is not working out in my favor. He looks like he got 18 years older in the last 2 weeks. I do not think that's going to pan out for me. Kenny Galladay's return has destroyed any hopes of Marvin Jones being a fantasy relevant player. Michael Gallup is the only Cowboys wide receiver to not go off, and this has been a couple weeks coming. So we'll have to kind of watch that. But yeah, that's not looking promising for him. And then T.Y. Hilton is also another one of those guys that might be a little over the hill at this point and should probably just remain on your bench. Hunter Henry had a measly 8 points this week. And P. Nowhere, it says you had 10 players out this week. And he only had 26 roster spots.
He rivals John with Steelers players. So there was a good amount from that.
Got it. Okay.
And then he is out of IR spots and has OJ Howard just went on IR. He actually had Derrick Henry in the lineup. So
Well,
that was a shame on him.
yes, that did not work in his favor.
No.
Though he did score the same amount of points as Calvin Ridley this week. So there is that.
It's true. It's true. Less targets, but
yeah, he did more with less, I guess.
the last one, our ranking of
so
We Don't Know Mark. We had him as the number one running back heading into the year, and his number one running back is Miles Sanders at 26.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that he had Saquon Barkley, who is out, Matt Breida, and then he traded for Austin Eckler. Yikes. He'll be good next year, but yeah, that's unfortunate, my friend.
He still snuck out. He's still 4-0.
Yeah,
but
I don't think he can keep that up, being that he probably has, what, you said, like 75 less points on the year than both of us?
Yeah.
And we're both sitting at 2-2. So
yeah.
It will even out. Karma has its way. Do not worry. But we have a new Beast of the East this week. Mm-hmm. Jared Burkholder took it with 209 points. And well done. Well done. So is the common denominator of this podcast? So obviously I've had it twice. You've had it once. Jared was just on for the player series. Is this a good omen for John next week, do you think?
I think so. You better...
John Staggers is going to be our player series guest.
Better perform. Better not let us down.
I mean, obviously GM Newell had the opportunity, but, he blew it. And Albizi, the champ, didn't pull it off either. But, John, I think you had the best shot of the three of them. And we're rooting for you next week. So we'll see. So, Mark, what are we doing? We have a new segment today, but I think we're going to save that. Or do you want to do that first?
Let's do the game results. Okay. Check in on our rankings here. Basically, to sum it up, Seymour lost the game. You and I gained a game on him.
Okay. As far as the tracker goes.
Yep. So that brings you and him to a 15-9, leading the pack, and I'm one behind at 14-10. The specifics. Do you want to take that?
I was going to say, and not to get ahead of ourselves, this was our division week as well. This was the last one, so at this point, everyone has played everyone else in their division at least once. And also, we didn't really mention this before, but this was also rivalry week for a couple of our players.
True.
I don't know if you caught that or not. So we will point out the winners there, and you'll take notes because you need to pay them this week. But so first game, we had myself playing Albizi, and you said all three of us chose me, and all three of us were wrong because Albizi beat me by a measly 2.5 points.
I think I speak for Seymour, probably yourself as well, when we expected you could make just one of the right decisions.
I live to disappoint, so just ask Mom. This is just checking to see if she listens, because you'll hear like in the background like, "Oh no, you'll never disappoint me." That's my best mom impression for the day. Next game. This was our first rivalry matchup between Connor and Jared Burkholder. You and I thought that Connor would lose because Jared beat him last time. And Seymour went with Jared. And he was right. We were wrong. Jared won handedly, got his high score of the week. So that puts Caleb at 1-1, you and me at 0-2.
Okay.
Then comes you versus P. Miller. We all thought that you would win because, well, P. Miller sucks. And we were right. You got that, so that puts us at 1-2. Caleb at 2-1, going into our next rivalry matchup: Woo Footy Hulk versus John Staggers. You and I were in agreement that we thought Woo Footy would win. Seymour was stupid and went with John, and he lost out, tying things up a little bit. So that makes it 2-2 for you and me, and now 2-2 for him.
Tying it up for their rivalry season.
Yes.
Got the best of 1-1.
They split it. That's awesome. And then this is the last rivalry, right? Ben Chapman versus Seymour.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we were all a little bit more had different ideas here. You thought that Seymour would win. I thought that Ben Chapman would win. And Caleb thought that Seymour would win. So you guys were both wrong. I was right. Mm-hmm. Ben Chapman won.
Proud of you, Ben.
That puts me at 3-2, and you both at 2-3. Last game of the week was GM Newell versus We All Know Mark. And Mark, you went with We All Know Mark. Mm-hmm. Caleb and I went with Newell because this was before the fire sale. So this one you walked away 3-3. I also sneaked out a 3-3, but Caleb took 2-4, which allowed me to slip back into first place with him. So, but as a result of all this, we took a look at the rankings. Also going in through 4 weeks. Let's talk about the division rankings first before we get into the overall rankings. Our division rankings. Dude, it's a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. Those first 2 weeks.
New England is wild.
Yeah, we are all tied. Well, kind of tied at 2-2 in the New England division. The only reason I am in first place is because of points 4 is our tiebreaker, and right now, the only person who has more points scored for this season than me is you, Mark, and that is by 0.2.
A whopping margin.
Yeah, 0.2 points. That's how close we are. And then the next person is like 100 points behind us. So we are definitely crushing it and are expecting a little bit more from everyone else going forward. But that's the reason that I'm in first place, even though Albizi and Connor both beat me. But I think we will even the score second round. In the Central Division, there's a little bit more discrepancy. This one has our only undefeated player, and that is We All Know Mark at 4-0. And then Seymour and Ben Chapman at 2-2, and GM Newell bringing up the rear at 1-3. So that prediction is looking good for you so far, Mark.
I'm really counting on that for our rankings.
Yes.
For predictions. I think.
Please, Ben Chapman, stay just slightly above GM Newell. Mid-Atlantic Division, this is your division. John Staggers is on top, 3-1. And then you and Woo Footy Hulk are at 2-2. Woo Footy, did he start 0-2?
You may have. I think he did. I think you're right.
He did. So he is clawing his way back. And P. Knower has started 0-4. So we will see if he can ever get that win that you predicted for him or not, Mark. But so far, not so good.
Unfortunately, the one win it gave him has already passed, and he lost. So
right. Luckily, I was going to say, luckily, we're not paying that close attention. So as long as he gets a win, you can still count it. It's fine. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's rough.
Yeah. But so overall rankings, honestly, not much moved this week. I'm still ahead of you, even though you have 0.2 points more than me. The consensus is going forward, you think this week was a fluke. Calvin really just needed one catch in order to put me over the top in our very close rankings. So I have you beat by just the smallest margin. If he does it again next week, okay, you can have it. That's fine. But right now, I'm in first. You're in second. The top four stay the same. We all know Mark, John Staggers. Those are the division leaders, with the exception of you, but you scored a ridiculous amount of points. Albizi, top five didn't move. Albizi is also right there. The first movement we had was Woo Footy jumped Caleb this week because, like we said, he's got 2 wins in a row, and his team is looking more and more formidable as we go. That's also a win without Cam Newton. He had to go without him this week.
And impressive. He top 2 running backs this week, extending Cook.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
Both on him.
Definitely helped him out. So that obviously drops Caleb down a spot because they switched spots. Connor and Jared both stay the same. Even though Jared beat Connor, Connor has a good amount of points more than him for the year. So we're still giving him the nod.
Jared's on his tail.
Jared's right there, and there's still a lot of season to go, but we being about a third way through the season, that's where they are at the moment. Ben Chapman, Jim Newell both got to go up a spot because I'm sorry, dude. We tried to bring you out of the basement, but I'm afraid it's not at your own fault, but you have the injury bug, my friend. And yeah, that sucks. But with that comes last place.
Should be a guest on the pod here. Might hopefully next week get him on. Maybe he can defend himself and plead his case here.
Yeah, maybe he has some secret plans we don't know about, but we'll see if he will be privy to sharing those with us. Mark, you had a little asterisk here, a little point you wanted to add. What was that about?
Yeah, for the top 3, kind of seeing what another week. We all know Mark wins again, 4-0. He's obviously winning the matchups. Main thing I was just going to talk about is both of us having 75 more points than him. Yeah. It's kind of a deciding factor for us right now. And the running back, he's getting injury bug. The top players of Barkley and Eckler. So if he keeps, if he keeps chugging along, keeps winning, maybe at some point we'll have to make a switch. But as of right now, if I was playing him, I'd be 3-1. If you're playing him, you'd be 2-2. And
it's all because of these last 2 weeks. Yeah, for sure. It's we're also stubborn, so it's going to take a lot to get us out of first and second place. We think we're right, and that's hard for us to say otherwise. So good luck. You're going to have to make it a very strong case. But today we have a new segment where we're talking about the top 10 players and basically breaking down our rosters and comparing it to what we thought they were going to be before the season starts. But yeah, Mark, do you want to take this one?
Okay, so this one is more just like looking through our rankings, like the ones that stuck out to me. I was kind of highlight the ones that stuck out. Basically what this is showing the top 10 players at each position: quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, and what players in our league have players in the top 10 in each of the positions. Yeah. So what really stuck out to me was we all know Mark. We had him at the number 1 running back. Doesn't have any running backs in the top 10. Yeah. Not really a fault of his own. You weren't in this boat, but I had Breida pretty high coming in. I thought he was going to be a nice pass catcher for them. He's not been a nice pass catcher, nor running back, nor player for them. Though obviously John's the benefactor of that with Gaskin.
For sure.
Who else? Josh, having Cook and Mixon in the top 10. Weren't very high on his running backs. He also got the trade for Cooper, who's become the number 1 wide receiver as of this week.
I will be curious to see if he can hold on to that status. I mean, they've had 4 shootouts in a row, but maybe Cooper is finally going to be a consistent contributor. Like usually he's boom and bust, or at least that's always the stigma with Amari Cooper. But maybe not. I mean, he's been pretty steady Eddie so far.
Yeah, he's been rolling. Dak's been rolling. We'll see what happens. Another one I wanted to point out was P. Noer, having Derrick Henry, who's not in the top 10, his very best player, first pick, and it's actually the undrafted James Robinson in the top 10.
Jacksonville Jaguars, yes. And he's up there too. He's like 5 or 7. I don't remember specifically what he is. I'm gonna look.
He's wild. Jump in when you get it, but he's moving.
Yeah, just keep going.
Quarterback, Seymour, making a trade for Brady.
Not to jump in right now, but I was right. It's 5.
5? Hold on. Seymour trade. A lot of these will be trades, like getting Tom Brady. I had him at 6. You had him at 2, just because it's Lamar. It's his other quarterback, but I am at 6, getting Tom Brady. Now he's 2 top 10. Yeah. For me, I was pretty happy to see Tyreek Hill, Tyler Lockett coming in top 10, and Tyler Boyd being a pleasant surprise this far, being the 11th receiver. Calvin Ridley, obviously we know what he's been doing other than week 4. Still the number 3 receiver.
Well, the crazy thing is, too, dude, I have Devontae Adams as well. So, apart from injury, I would have possibly 3 top 10 wide receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to go with that, you got number 2 and number 3 tight ends this year so far.
Yeah.
Who else we got here? Connor and Albeezy. I saw their tight ends, both Jonnu Smith for Connor and Albeezy getting Dalton Schultz. They were both near the bottom of our tight end rankings. And, getting those 2 guys has been, Jonnu just being what he is this year and Schultz coming off the waiver wire for Beasley. That's a clutch for them.
And when you look at something like this, obviously there's some people that are obvious. Kelsey, top tight end, no surprise there. Lamar Jackson, one of the top 10 quarterbacks. I do think it's interesting that how low Mahomes is. He's still top 10, but he has not looked like the Mahomes of before. But in general, yes, there's a couple of those consistent ones, but this is a lot more chaotic than I expected it to be this year. And this just shows you the importance of the waiver wire and the importance of, in-season decision making. You can't just do it based off the draft. Our teams, it'd be a fun comparison to see week 1 roster versus week 15 roster.
Especially for Newell.
Right. By week 15, I think it's just going to be a giant white flag. We'll see.
For him, to highlight a few, Tom Brady's the top 10. Who else? Travis Kelce's top 10. Mark Cooper's top 10. But instead, he's left with Robbie Anderson as his lone top 10 player.
He's traded all of his assets away, for sure. So that's just kind of a little thing. We have to come up with a name for this segment. Maybe it should just be how wrong were we or something. But we'll come up with something much better than
cool
that.
Kids.
Exactly. Anything else, Mark? What do you got?
That's all I got. I thought we ran through a lot of stuff. I feel like it's good to highlight one more time just your bench and your performance. I'm sorry. It really is. It really is incredible looking through, because there wasn't any really pick that I would have done differently in saying the roster. It's just amazing.
This is the joys of fantasy. Yes, I could have done something illogical and won, but no. I am at peace. I don't think there was anything I could have done differently. I mean, obviously there's things I could have done differently, but maybe if I was one of the other teams in our league, I might have made different decisions. If I was Seymour, I probably would have picked a different running back to start, and I would have won. But no, I got nothing. It's all right. It's gonna be okay. And I just keep telling myself that multiple times a day in the mirror, and so far so good.
We'll get him next time, and we shall see.
It's just fantasy. It'll be all right.
Good. Yeah. Well, see you guys all next week.
Don't forget to check out Player Series with John Staggers. See you later.
Yeah.